find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here at 444 Spirit Way. Oh, turn!
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Hi, everybody. I am spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White, and welcome to Both Sides Now and Beyond. So, as you may know, James is not with us tonight, but I do have an incredible special guest that I'll bring her out in a few minutes. You guys will love her. And James is in Europe. I spoke to him today. He's having the time of his life. He's with Gordon. They're having a great time. They've done shows and they've done teaching and I don't know, recorded a lot of things for television. So they're having a really fun time in Europe. And I think they're in Glasgow tonight. And he comes home, I think, the end of October. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about his adventures, but it's always fun to talk to him. And he loves our guest tonight. Oh my God, he's a huge fan. But before we get into that, let me say hi to everybody. And then I'm going to go into some astrology because we have a major eclipse coming up again. So, hi, Bernadette. Bernadette, that's a great question that you ask, and I am going to come back to that. Thanks for asking that. Hi, Tom. Hi, Trey. Oh, people are saying hi to our guest, Jen Weigel, today, which is really exciting. Hi, Liz. Hi, Liz. Hi, Renee. Hi, Mimi. Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Carrie East. Hi, Dolly. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Marge. Hi, Sue. Hi, Susie. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Amy and Marge and Bonnie and Sarah. I could just keep going on and on. Oh my gosh. Hi, Judy Friedman. How are you, honey? I always love to see your name here. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Patty. Wow. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're all tuning in. You're just going to love our guest tonight. But before we bring our special guest on, I am going to talk about the astrology that's going on for this week. Because as you may know, we had an eclipse on the 14th of October. And we're in eclipse season. And we're in between these two eclipses. And the second eclipse is this Saturday, October 28th. So this is a partial lunar eclipse, but it's a full moon lunar eclipse. And it's the Hunter's full moon. So I can tell you from around here in this area that I live in southern Wisconsin, it's interesting because some people call it the blood moon too. So there you can see the animals starting to come out, and you can see the crops, and it just looks like the Hunter's moon. But this is a partial lunar eclipse, and it's going to be this Saturday. And on the East Coast, you'll be able to see it in New York, part of New York, and that's about all you'll be able to see it in the United States. But it will be completely visible in Europe and in Asia and in Africa. Okay, and it's going to be around sunset over the East Coast. So in New York, it'll be close to like 6 o'clock to 6:30 East Coast time. And this eclipse they're all powerful. These powerful eclipses are life-changing. They're all about letting go of everything that you've been holding on to and then moving forward. That's what eclipses do. They literally, kicking or screaming, move us forward. Okay, I cannot tell you how many times my life has changed with regards to eclipses. Just for fun, I was looking at the eclipses where they were in the year 2000, and there were 3 eclipses in 1 month in July in the year 2000, and my head injury literally was 8 days later. So I know how important eclipses are. They change lives. So this eclipse on Saturday occurs in the nakshatra. And nakshatras are the celestial bodies, if you will, in Vedic astrology. And I'm talking Vedic astrology here, of Ashwini. And Ashwini is all about healing. And this lunar eclipse, again, in Vedic astrology, is in Aries. And so this is about healing. And healing, I'm going to tell you, with trauma, healing trauma that, deep within us, our trauma that maybe we've held on to. And so this is really going to challenge us this weekend on Saturday, particularly, and for the next several weeks. But it will challenge us to, go inward and, be a little more introspective about yourself and see how you're feeling and what's really held you up from going further in life or currently holding you up with moving forward. And lunar eclipses, like the one we're going to have, it can highlight like possibly unsettled feelings, or it could bring up turbulent emotions. And the reason it does this is it's so we can process it and then release it. Because we hold on to trauma and it's held in the body, it's stored in the body. And you know how all of a sudden you might get triggered and you think, why am I triggered by this? I mean, God knows it happens to me. It happens to the best of us, where we get triggered. Like, why did I just get triggered? Like, what is going on? Oh, yeah. And you can trace it back to a certain thing. So this is going to help us, if you will, with unresolved, maybe relationship issues. So I want to say to everybody, stay as positive as you can and maybe avoid expressing negative, being negative, because being negative is not going to help. But also on the same day, on the 28th, Jupiter, the largest planet and the benevolent planet and planet of wisdom, and Mars, the planet of war, they're in opposition. Okay. And it makes Saturday and Sunday and Monday very challenging because Saturn, which is the planet of karma and work and health and intensity, is aspecting this lunar eclipse. And on top of that, that makes this lunar eclipse pretty intense. On top of that, this lunar eclipse is conjunct, which means next to this fixed star called L Sheridan. And L Sheridan is they say it's like a combined energy of Mars and Saturn. And that can be violent. So, the world is in a very intense time. And I do not see it getting lighter or easier anytime in the near future. And I think these eclipses will set things off in motion again. So on this eclipse on Saturday, it's really not best. It's best if you can not begin a new job or new business or even getting married or even a medical procedure. If you already have those things lined up and you're going to do it, just do it. Just know that, the energies are a little more heavy those days. Okay. And if you are doing any of these things, it's a destined situation then. And also eclipses do bring destiny to us too. And on the October 29th and 30th, and this is the next few days again, Mars and Mercury come together. And this time, and they're in Libra in Vedic astrology, and this time when they come together, it can bring a lot of turbulence. So I'm going to say the next few days, and actually the first week in November, because Saturn goes direct, and we'll talk about that on Monday. It's going to be the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, several weeks are going to be an intense time. So just try to stay grounded, be patient, watch your patience, and go into meditation on Saturday. It's a great thing to do, is to meditate during this particular time. Okay, it's a great thing to do because it really, really helps us to go inward. And then remember, release everything that you possibly can during this time. Okay, so that's the astrology. Oh, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's pretty rough right now. But anyway, what I do want to do is I want to talk about one of my favorite people of all time, and her name is Jen Weigel. And I'm going to tell you a lot about Jen right now. She was like, no, just say the little bit of it, but I can't because her background is so impressive that I want you guys to know who she is. And I've been working with Jen. Well, we'll talk about this since the week before the world shut down. I went to one of her studios in, I think it was CBS in Chicago, and we did a show then. And that was then the world shut down, literally. So, but let me tell you about Jen. Jen is a journalist. She's an author. She's a reporter. She's a TV anchor. And I love this. She's a spiritual adventurist. But I wanted to say more about Jennifer because I think it's really important that I kind of say some more things about her. Jen is an award-winning broadcast journalist, and she's been on a journey to bring spirituality into the mainstream media for over 20 years. In fact, I think she met James, several years ago, and I can't wait for her to tell the story of when she meets James and how her life changes. But she won an Emmy for her on-camera reporting for CBS, and her work has covered all platforms from print journalism, where she worked as a columnist for both the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times, to radio and television. She's known for her interviewing skills, and she interviews best-selling authors in the spiritual space, which I love that. She's got a popular podcast called I'm Spiritual, Damn It, and the Jen Weigel Show, which Renee will put how to get to all of this in our comments section. And she also had a one-woman show and was a successful run on the Chicago stage. So, and she's written 4 books, and the books are called Stay Tuned, I'm Spiritual, Damn It, This Isn't the Life I Ordered, which really cracks me up, and Psychics, Healers, and Mediums, a journalist, a road trip, and voice from the other side. So there's so many things I want to talk with Jen about, but first let me welcome to the show, Jen Weigel.
Hello.
Jen, I'm so glad you're here today, and I am very impressed with your background. You've done a lot of work.
I feel so old when you list all those things because there have been so many incarnations to my journey, and I feel like I reinvent myself every few years, which we all should do. We don't want to be stagnant. You have to kind of go where the flow is, right? If a door shuts, a window opens, right? That's what they always say.
And you've been so good about that because your life changed many times, and you've always gone towards the spiritual realm. And was this because of James? How did your spiritual journey begin?
So it was interesting. James is the first person that I interviewed in the mainstream of spirituality while I was a reporter at CBS. And Talking to Heaven had come out. I inhaled it, right? I inhaled it. And then Reaching to Heaven was coming out. And so at the time, it was very, very, if it bleeds, it leads, everything's wrong, back to you in the studio. Like that was my life. That would be whatever fire or hit and run or disaster. I covered 9/11. I covered President Obama's inauguration. I covered all these things. I also was an entertainment reporter for years. So I interviewed celebrities. I did sports. I did wherever there was an opening. I think the only thing I didn't do was weather, but everything else I did just because you had to stay busy. But I had no intention of ever going in this world. I didn't really know if I believed in it, but it was Talking to Heaven that cracked the possibility for me. And so I read it, and I remember giving it to my dad, who was also in this business. I joke that
Dad was very famous in this area.
Yeah, like Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, like in the 70s with the cheesy outfits. And he was a sportscaster, Tim Weigel, in Chicago. And what happened is he died of a brain tumor in 2001. And at the time I was working for CBS, and it just sort of rattled my world, and I couldn't understand where he was. And I went on a journey to interview as many people like yourself as possible because I didn't know if I believed in it. I thought there were people that were preying on grieving people, which I unfortunately did find some of those, right? In every profession, you're going to have some bad eggs. But 22 years later, I'm still having these conversations that I'm now completely a believer because I know what I've experienced. I know what's happened to me. But it was James's book, Talking to Heaven. And then I interviewed him when I was at CBS. I remember begging my producer, please let me interview James Van Praagh. And she was like, who? And I said, he has a New York Times bestseller. And that was all she needed, Okay. So we did the interview. He actually came to my condo and we just became fast friends. We stayed in touch. And then throughout the years, when my first book, Stay Tuned, came out, after I was compiling all these interviews and all this data, as a journalist, we have to have our sources. We have to have our data. And I wanted my sources to be, somebody on a landline that you could meet in person, not some spirit that's in the sky. But I now know your sources can be many, many different things.
Right. And then you and I met at an interesting time in life, too, because we were in Chicago. I was with James in Chicago, and we were teaching I think for 3 or 4 days. and he had gone on your show. This would have been in, I think it was
2019 or 2020.
January of
Yep.
2020.
Yep. That's
And
when I was on the radio, WLS radio in Chicago. I had the Jen
yeah,
Weigel show, and James came in, and then of course you came in shortly after that because of our mutual friend David Vigiano.
David Vigiano. Yes. Hi, David.
Hi,
Yes.
David. And you said the world is about to change. I mean, you didn't know how, but you said it was going to be rocked, and
Yeah.
we had no idea how much it would be rocked. But
I
yes,
just knew that we are going to have this massive change. And I sounded like Henny Penny. I was like, no, the sky is going to fall. I mean, I just was with anybody who would, talk to me about it. And James would say, well, just tell this one and just tell this one. And I must have sounded like a lunatic, but I knew what I saw astrologically, and I knew that this was going to be very, very dramatic here. And then you asked me to be on your show, and I was on your show literally the week before everything
yeah.
shut down.
Absolutely. And then I started, because things shut down, I had been doing these live events, the Spiritual Social Club live, and I couldn't, because I couldn't be live. So we started a Zoom community, which actually helped me spread out. And I think too, Kellee, so much changed with the pandemic with Audible. People found my interviews on Audible and my audiobooks on Audible. And that's when I started getting emails from Japan and Amsterdam, and people holed up in the pandemic and they were finding my audiobooks. And then they joined the Spiritual Social Club. So they're coming on Zoom from the UK to get a psychic reading from you while because
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, everybody gets a reading in my Zooms. It's not like 400 people and only 5 people get a reading.
Right.
I know that people at James's level have to do that. But for what I was trying to do is create this price point where everybody got something, and then it just becomes this big hug for 2 hours of us, an expert giving.
Tell everybody what this Spiritual Social Club is.
Well, so yes, it's this Zoom weekly events that I do now. I also do them now. We're back live and in person. So anybody in the Midwest that wants to come see me, this date is October 23rd as we're talking. Tomorrow, October 24th, I'll be in the city of Chicago. You can find out about it on my website, but I do live events now once a month. Again, that's the Spiritual Social Club live. But the Spiritual Social Club is just a community that's come together. We practice and learn about intuition. We have different authors and healers and psychics and mediums and different wellness experts, if you will, that come on, and it's all about not feeling weird, not wondering what the heck this means, not being afraid to be honest about what's opening up for you, and wanting to explore what seems to be an awakening, wouldn't you say, Kellee, globally with consciousness? Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I'm watching it change daily, actually. And it's so important right now that it is changing, that people are starting to wake up to a different consciousness and talking about, the other side and what goes on the other side. Because what happens is we start to we know many people now that are passing away. And so often a loss will create a place for somebody they'll have to get some help because they don't know what to do. So they'll see a therapist, they'll see a medium, they'll see somebody, their belief system starts to shift. And what's great about your background is you were not a medium, you were not a psychic, you're not any of that. But you were somehow just started opening up to it.
Right.
And you bring a level of consciousness to it that would help people that maybe did not have this belief at all.
Well, this is when I started understanding that past lives could be a thing, because I couldn't figure out why I loved Egypt and why I loved the Renaissance and why I was drawn to certain things. But what was really happening for me as a kid, now looking back, Kellee, I always had stomach aches, like bad stress stomach aches. And I didn't realize I was an empath because that wasn't a word anybody ever said. And so a couple times I remember being in 7th grade and knowing exactly what the teacher was going to say. And I'm like, wait, what is happening? So now I see what an intuitive thing means, what empathic people are dealing with. It's like an assault to the energy system. And one of our most popular spiritual social clubs is called Anxiety is Your Superpower. Because so many people are just riddled with it and just want to medicate it and drive through and get a pill and just go back to life. But if you could realize that what you're feeling is not of you, your spidey senses are on overdrive. So now if you could work with that toolbox imagine what was possible. And we have a gentleman named Nick Lodato, who is an ICU nurse in the ER, and he sees dead people. Like, you know, I love combo platters. This is what I find now.
I love combo platters too.
And then they dabble in the spiritual, or they do both very, very well, as you do as a therapist and as somebody who's super intuitive. We have to all have a little from column A and a little from column Z.
Right. But I love that you said it's your superpower.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to use that. I love that. Here's a question from Bernadette Desir. She says, hi, Kellee and Jen. How can we break down barriers and myths of the other side being a place of sorrow and grief and pain when really none of that exists? And it's really true. I mean, Bernadette, I think that's what Jen and I spend our time doing, I think, trying to debunk that.
Well, the thing is, too, we are having a human experience, right? So we're wearing this human suit, Bernadette. And so we have to figure out how to maneuver the day-to-day in the third dimension. While, yes, none of that pain happens over there, but over here, boy, does it ever, right?
Oh.
And I tell people all the time, when we heal the micro, right, the little wounds, the bruises that people push on, the abandonment or the sadness or the bully from third grade or whatever it is, when we heal the micro stuff going on within us, it actually helps the collective. Yes. And that's what people don't understand. We think that, oh, I've got to really help what's going on in the Ukraine or in the Gaza Strip, or I need to deal in. Well, right now you can send light there. Your intention is everything. So you can intend to heal anywhere. There is no time and space. So close your eyes and go there and send light there. I mean, we know this from Prajna Avalon, who you've had on your show, who is
I love Prajna. Yes.
You know, a miracle,
wonderful healer.
Time. And yes, healing is everywhere. We're all connected to that when we decide to plug into it. Yep. So, but I really have been lately realizing my big aha is that when we have to heal our human wounds, because they show up because we're wearing a human suit, and you know what, we have to feel it to heal it, and that's the hard part. And then once we do that, we can do lots of things.
There's no spiritual bypass. I mean, with James and I, and you, we talk about this a lot. You just because you have a spiritual awakening or a spiritual thought, or you start thinking in those terms, you can't avoid any traumas that you've had or any wounds that you've had. And when you come here on earth, you are going to get wounded. Everybody's going to get hurt. Everybody's going to get wounded. And then it's the process of healing and really having, faith and developing a sense that you're not alone in the world, that, the other side exists. And it starts, your consciousness starts to expand, and it allows more room for healing when this happens.
It's true. And the more people talk about it, the more we can regulate it. That's one of the things why I love asking questions. Because if we didn't ask questions, we'd all still be smoking on airplanes, people. I mean,
right. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yes.
I remember I used to live in Los Angeles. I mean, I'm from Los Angeles, lived there my whole life. And Santa Monica, or it was Beverly Hills, believe it or not, I think, that stopped smoking in restaurants back in the day. And that caused all kinds of problems.
Oh, my goodness.
When that happened. But you're absolutely right. Okay. Anna Maria Ochoa. I don't like watching the news, but it shows me where we need to send love.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So true. And, as somebody who was in that business, what I don't like is how they feed on our fears, and they really do choose the scariest stories to make the headlines. And this was one of the reasons, and you asked about my journey. One of the reasons after my dad died, it got so hard to talk about how everything was wrong. And I didn't understand frequency, and I didn't realize that thoughts become things. And I didn't realize by being an empath, I was absorbing all the grief of the parents I would interview whose children was just murdered. Like I didn't know what was happening to me. Again, anxiety was not my superpower. It made me curl up into a ball. And so if I had realized that I could have shielded myself with some grounding exercises and putting on my high beams and really just being aware of my energy is mine, your energy is yours. I didn't know any of these tools. I'd never meditated, but I just knew something didn't feel good. But they really prey on your fear in that business, because that's what everybody else does. And I used to always say, there are things happening in the world that aren't broken. Even being at the fire and the hit and run, I would lead with who survived. And they would tell me, nope, that's not the lead. The lead is who died. And I said, it says who? I'm still going to give you the facts. the lead to me, and I think if we flip that the lead is who survived. So there are so many stories of rescues happening and all this trauma in the Middle East and wonderful things. Of course, there's blood,
Yeah.
horror, and kidnapping. I'm not belittling any of that. But if we started focusing and swinging the pendulum on the information that's real, but is also inspiring, then like David Hawkins' Power versus Force, we would get to love and above. We could raise the vibration from complete fear and hopelessness, which is down here in the scale, to get up there to even just some little glimmer of acceptance sometimes, right? Knowing that it's not, like Bernadette was saying, that at the end of the day, none of this is real. It's all an illusion, but still, it's so hard to remember that when you're in the thick of it.
It is. It is. I mean, everything you're saying, I'm really just absorbing it right now. It's so true, Jen, what you're saying about all of this. Sonia Contreras, what advice do you have for us who feel we went through an awakening and now feel it's like lulled a bit? What's the next step?
Wow, Sonia, so good to
Great.
see you. Sonia is part of my social club. I recognize
Hi,
Sonia's
Sonia.
smile. I would say that it still is happening if that's still your intention. Sometimes things need to integrate, right, Kellee? Like, it's sort of like your operating system has to understand. Like just today, I was actually getting an IV. I get these vitamin IVs with Carolyn Mace, the author, and we go and we get like pumped up for our immune system, right?
So great.
You've got a glutathione push at the end, and you can't push it all in at once. You have to slowly push it over 10 minutes. So I set a timer on my phone. It's like little by little by little, because if you push it all in at once, your system, it'll burn the IV.
Yeah.
And Sonia, if you could use that analogy, that we have to bring it in and start integrating it. And remember, we can't fix other people. We have to fix ourselves first. That's been a big one for me, Kellee, like self-care before serving the world.
It's a huge one. It's a huge one for me. I mean, I work on that one every day. But let me just tell you, Sonia, it's a great question, because when I had my traumatic brain injury in the year 2000, and I was thinking about your dad when you said when he passed away in 2001, and there were these 3 eclipses that all happened in July of 2000. I bet you that was one of the eclipses that took him out. Eclipses do take people out. They change lives. I am telling you this. And no, do not put your...
Okay,
in 2000.
He was diagnosed Father's Day, and so that was June.
Oh, that
then he died on Father's Day the year later.
Okay, I have chills. And then it was part of that whole group of eclipses. Definitely, it just fascinated me, and I had to look at that up today. But I was going to say this about what she was just asking about. So when I had my head injury in 2000, I had all of these wild experiences, like unbelievable wild experiences that of spirituality and things that I started seeing and hearing, and now all my whole life it completely changed. It was like I was like a kid in a candy shop, and then it stopped.
Right.
Okay, so when it stopped, I had to integrate, which is what you're talking about. I had to integrate it, and then I was fortunate that Spirit let me see what I could see. I was fortunate for having those experiences, because my faith is unwavering. Right. I saw so much, which is really important. But then what happens is now you live your life. You live your life as on earth, as knowing that you're a soul, having just a human having a spiritual, or a spirit having a human experience here. Right. Yeah. And you just keep doing that. And day to day, you get deeper and deeper and more entrenched in your spirituality. And that's how it works here on earth.
I've also been saying, like, only give me what I can handle. So, Sonia,
Jen, I said that all the time.
It's like, just give me what I can handle, because we want to get a few things. It's like, ooh, but then you want to really get good at it, what they give you. So master what they give you. Keep doing the self-care. You can't give what you don't have. So keep filling up your cup, keep worrying about your self-care, and take what they give you. If you open your intention and say, show me the next steps for my highest good and the highest good of all involved, no matter how it shows up, help me trust it. You will get exactly what Spirit wants to give you in that moment in time. But you just have to trust. You just have to trust.
Absolutely. Renee, would you there we go. Marilyn McCormick, how does an empath distinguish between our own feelings and that of others? Great question.
That's a great question. Well, it starts for me. Can only share how it worked for me, Marilyn. I started with, your operating system. So it starts with know thyself, right? And if you're just out, I remember sitting at the Chicago Tribune, I had a column, and I was kind of in my head and writing, and all of a sudden I got this sharp pain in my stomach, and it was so bad that I was like, oh my God, did I get food poisoning? And so what I ask is this mine or someone else's? I actually ask my spirit team that question, Marilyn, and then I wait for me. I get clairaudience stuff, and I heard someone else's. Stand up. I was like, whoa. So I stood up, and over the cubicle was somebody who had just gotten fired, and she was packing her box, and I couldn't see,
Oh,
but it went through the cubicle and went right into my solar plexus, and I was like,
oh,
oh my God. And so that's
wow.
a trick I recommend to anyone.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, is this mine or someone else's? And make sure you're grounded and you're like tapped in, right? If you, whatever your healing hygiene is, Marilyn, to control, alt, delete. And, and James taught me this. James taught me to set a timer on your phone to take a light shower several times a day and literally picture a shower of light disintegrating any energy that's not for you, that doesn't serve, send it back down to earth for healing. Literally picture it going down the drain like in a shower. You can be driving, you can be walking, whatever. And if you take a light shower several times a day and all of a sudden you start feeling something, ask yourself, is this mine or someone else's? And
That
then
is so true. That's exactly what I do. You're right on with that. And know thyself is everything. Know thyself. And so every day, learn more and more about yourself so you know who you are. And what I would do whenever I get any of that, I'll stop and I'll say, is it me? Yes, no. Is it my daughter? Because, usually I'll start with her. Is it my daughter? Is it me? Go down the list. And then, it's the world. Oh, okay. This is what's going to happen. Okay. And that's how I do it. But it takes practice and discernment. A lot of practice. You can do it. Anybody can do it. You can do it.
Right.
Okay. Clara Elena Hargreaves. I have to say this first. Hello, Jen. I've listened to 3 of your books. I love them and I've listened to them twice each.
Oh,
yay. How sweet is that? Isn't that great?
Sweet.
All right, Renee, I'm sorry. You put that comment back up. Pamela. Hi, Pamela. I do believe in God and the afterlife, but I had an abortion so many years ago and fear hell. Oh, if I could ever take it back, I would. Thoughts on that? Oh, Pamela, I have lots of thoughts on that. I talk to women, all the time about this one. That soul just needed a small amount of time to be here. Okay. You're not going to hell. Nope. There's no such thing. You're going to be fine. It was that soul needed a little bit of experience being here and you needed the experience. That's all. That's all it is. I talk whenever anybody has a session with me and this comes through, we go right into it and it's very healing. So don't hold on to that. There's no such thing as hell. You're not going to hell.
No. And Pamela, as somebody, I had a pregnancy that didn't come full term. And I had a lot of guilt over that. Like maybe it was me, maybe it was, I didn't eat well enough, maybe, all this stuff and guilt and shame and regret. Right. Those are all low frequencies that take you out of present time. So when you find yourself in that space, I always just say a quick prayer for that soul and yours to be healed. Send love to that soul and send love to your cup so that you can feel love of God. And if you believe in God, then love will fill that spot in your heart to know. You just pray to that soul. I did the best I could at the time with the information that I had. That's it. You only did what you could.
I love that, what you just said. So this is from Sean Anderson. So great to get the Chicago connection. I remember Tim Weigel very well. Good for Jen for ensuing to bring in the spiritual realm to broadcasting.
Woohoo!
That's very good. And this is from Vicki Nason. Hi, Vicki. She said, so excited to see Jen here with you, Kellee. The small, intimate group you both hosted a few weeks back was so enlightening and so informative. The group was beautifully put together. Everyone was given a one-on-one time with me, with Kellee, with you both, actually. It was great. I can't wait for the next one. Oh, so sweet.
Vicki, I remember her husband was super strong, right?
Her husband came through. It was unbelievable. Yeah,
that was actually, and these Zooms have a theme, and that's for anybody who signs up. There's no accident. And so there were several husbands on the other side. It was like they were a football team just coming through. And and I remember Vicki's husband. And Vicki, I'm so glad you're here. And it was great to meet you on Zoom. Really, really.
And and that's what happens when we have these classes, and when you have these classes, it brings the group together, and it will have a theme. That theme happened to be that night was husbands who had passed.
It was.
I mean, it was unbelievable. But you never know. It might be children. It might be. I never know how it's going to be set up. I mean, we couldn't possibly know ahead of time.
Right. Exactly.
So it's just fascinating. Cindy Sue. Hi, Cindy Sue. Are we supposed to heal fully and send love and heal our planet, or is our planet supposed to have all of these words and negative things happening so we can learn? Well, Cindy, let me answer that. And then, Jen, I'd love to have your opinion on it. I believe that Earth is a school of hard knocks. I think it's the university of really advanced learning the hard way. And so I feel, well, currently, that Earth perpetually is going to have trouble, because if we look at the war right now that's going on, and I feel that it's going to escalate, and when all of this happens, it's like generational trauma. Now, on the other side of that, the lens I can use is, well, there's somebody that's going to come in to break the trauma, which is, and break the generational pattern. And I believe all of that, but I believe each soul on Earth comes here to learn really difficult things. And so I happen to believe that the way Earth is set up right now, that it is perpetually a school of trauma. What do you think? I would love to say heal the planet. And I think ultimately that's the goal, is to make heaven on Earth. But currently it feels like this is going to be a place where souls sadly, come to learn and experience trauma to heal.
I agree. I mean,
for compassion.
Sure, absolutely. And we can also come together as a community. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, like you say, to learn and to serve, right? So the younger generation, I've got a 17-year-old son. And like I say, you've got to help our water sources. You've got to help with this plastic problem. You've got to, these things that we just keep thinking is disposable. I mean, just today I was taking out the recycling and there were like 45 plastic water bottles. And I said, this has got to stop. Think of all the hotels, think of all where is this all going to go? We can't just blow it up into space. We think of this disposable society and we have to get more green about it. But there's also the things that have been put into motion. Anything that we've put into motion, there's going to be a cause and effect, right? So even the atomic bombs, we're still feeling the reverberations of that. But there are these pockets of bliss in this world. And that means it's possible. So that frequency is on the planet, but we are all connected to try to learn. So when other places are in crisis, don't bury your head in the sand. Do what you can to help out if you can, right? Even if it's just sending a thoughtful prayer that somebody gets a light bulb, aha moment, and helps fix the water source. But always pray for ideas. We can't just be like, oh, kumbaya, send love to everybody. All right,
no.
Pray for inspiration. I always say,
absolutely. And you want to heal yourself too. I mean, everybody again has gone through so much trauma. And if you heal yourself, you can help heal others. And also, as the world goes into this gyration, the latest one, everybody will have an opportunity to learn compassion and kindness and love. And that's why we come here. So Carrie Cassone asked this question. She says, seeing as my parents died when I was in my teens, that's awful. She said, is it wrong to tell a friend that their parent who's in their 80s, who passed, is it wrong to tell them to stop dwelling about it? Yes, Carrie, it's very wrong, actually. Every soul has their own time when they're going to learn something. And I'm sorry about your loss. I mean, I could see where you would be coming from. Believe me, I get it. But yes, it's wrong. Sorry.
No, and you know what? Everybody's pain is everybody's pain. And so, while they might have had their parents into their 80s and you lost yours in your teens, maybe you have a relationship or a +1 and they never had that. Like, it all balances out, right? As my grandmother used to say, it all evens out in the wash. So maybe they had a horrible, toxic, childhood with those parents that lived into their 80s. Like, we just never know someone's story. So we can never personalize anyone else's experience as our own, because we never know all the angles. As a reporter and a journalist, I always found this out. When you're watching the news, you're seeing a 2.5-minute edited version. There's nothing that is objective anymore. I hate to break it to you, everybody. There's nothing objective except for something like this. But even a conversation can be edited down into misunderstandings, right? And that is the sad reality of our news today, is they take a soundbite here and a soundbite there and create the reality they're trying to spin, no matter what side on. And I literally, when everything was blowing up, Kellee, I would have to watch all sides of the
you poor thing.
It was horrible to watch all of it. Like, how could this be so different over here than it is over here? But I had to see what was being told, because the stories that are told create a vibration. And that creates a reality, and then that creates a mindset, and then it helps you better understand what's all going on. So it's really hard not to take it personally, but there is no more objective storytelling anymore. I hate to say it, other than long form conversations. That's as objective as you're going to get.
But it's so validating to hear you say that.
No,
Because
it's
you
really
come
true.
from that's your background.
Even my print journalism, I would hand in 5,000 words. It was cut down to 2,500. So really, objective does not happen in any mainstream storytelling. It just doesn't. It's always edited down to soundbite central. And I remember Deepak Chopra, I had to edit his package down. I interviewed him when I worked at CBS.
Oh, God.
2.5 minutes. How can you tell a Deepak Chopra's life story in 2.5 minutes?
Oh, my God.
That's crazy.
This is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Just highlights. It's just a highlight reel, what you're watching. And it's a highlight reel with an agenda. But every side has it. I'm just here to say the only thing that I love now is radio, because the reason why interviews like this could go on and you could actually dig into a topic without worrying about breaking, like now, especially like my podcast, the Jen Weigel Show, I don't have to break for Cialis commercials. It's great.
How great is that?
Talk. It's fabulous.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Sarah DeVoe. Sarah was in Alaska with us. Does the spirit world have any control over what goes on Earth?
Oh,
I don't think much. Much, Sarah. I
Free
don't
will,
think much. We
fortunately,
have
Sarah.
free will here. Yeah. It's a great question. And I think if things were to get really worse, would they step in? Possibly. I'd like to think.
I've interviewed, here's a fun thing. I've interviewed a lot of people who have had miraculous experiences, but they prayed and asked for help. And so I tell people, like, you have to ask. Even Lorna Byrne, who's written 7 best-selling books about angels. I just interviewed her last week on my YouTube channel, and Angels in My Hair and A Message of Hope from the Angels. And she's been able to see angels since she was 4 years old.
Wow.
And she says this. She says, listen, there are so many unemployed angels floating around, and they need a gig, and they can't intervene unless we ask for the help because of free will. And so with that visual, I am assigning everybody who is watching this some homework to call on the angels and give them a job. It can be watching out for your child. It can be helping you at work. It can be teacher angels could help you with a new skill. There's messenger angels. Please give messages of hope to my mom. She's feeling down. She's got a migraine. Whatever it is, hire an angel today, because apparently a lot of them are out of work. And this is coming from someone who's been able to see them almost.
Okay. I love this story because back in the day when I was in the business world, I was on a business trip and I couldn't find my car. And I was just so distraught. I couldn't find my car. I had a rental car. I was parked in this giant parking lot, and it was pouring down rain, and it was ruining my outfit and my hair. And I was a wreck, and I just started sobbing. So I couldn't figure out where my car was, and I'm crying, and I'm somewhere in San Francisco. I didn't have a clue where I was, and I'm just sobbing and sobbing. And then I remembered my mother-in-law at the time said to me, if you ever need help, ask your angels. And I'm like, angels? Okay. So I started talking to these angels. I had never done this in my life. And next thing you know, I hear a woo woo. And I go, what? And there was this from the sky, somebody had pointed to where my car was. And I looked up and I went, what? My car? And I found my car within 10 seconds, 5 seconds maybe. I looked up, gone. And I said, that was my first experience with seeing an angel. I actually saw him at that time. So yeah, they are unemployed. If you need them, call them in. You're absolutely right, because this is a free will place here. So you do have to ask them for help.
Yes.
Yeah, right on. I love that you just said that. Linda Dirk says it was around the year 2000 that she got diagnosed with a rare disease. I'm telling you, that's very true. Okay, Sean Elaine Anderson. I love Jen's comments on that there is no real, true, objective news out there in the mainstream. When we must all be so discerning.
Yes. Just put on your intuitive cap. You all have one if you're watching this podcast. And we really just discount our own abilities. If it doesn't feel right, it likely isn't. So really just be your own GPS on that one and
Right.
just follow
And
your,
you know what,
your,
Jen? Here's the other thing, and maybe, and not maybe, I'm sure of it. When since we all incarnated at this time, that what you just said is be your own authority, be your own GPS, learn everything that you can, because we're all here at this time. And if
yeah.
you're on Earth at this time, you wanted to be here, and you won the e-ticket to get here on Earth. You might think, oh, what are you talking about? It's a big deal to be actually on Earth at this time. All souls wanted to be here at this time. And so I think it's really important that you do your own work here while you're here and learn everything you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Okay, Elizabeth Glomsky says, I'm still dealing with my head injury, the after effects. It's turmoil, but meeting with Kellee has helped tremendously. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm your expert if you've had a head injury. I can tell
Absolutely.
you how
Absolutely.
that goes. Jara Hawk says it's a spiritual workout.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Lori Arbordot. Okay, here we go. Oh, hi, David. David Vigiano, our friend. Hi, Kellee. Hi, Jen. Miss you both. Moving to Evanston has been a big part of my healing. It was a
Oh,
tough journey. My move was rough and my renovations took forever. Even after sagging, I realized saging. Oh, I realized the energy the woman who owned my house before left me behind permeated the walls. The
wow.
negativity was palpable. I had to
Ooh.
move in and transform the energy myself. Have either of you ever had an experience where you had to dig in your heels and transform the energy around to move to a better place? Wow, David.
Oh my goodness.
Have you
Yeah.
had that? I've heard of that experience, David. I personally don't think I've had it, but have you had it,
I
Jen?
have, and I have, and we've had on the Spiritual Social Club a couple people who specializes in spaces and altering the space. I mean, there's something to be said if the house was built on. I mean, one woman had a house that was built on a Native American burial ground. I mean, talk about she had to have a whole ceremony and bless all the spirits and thank them for their service and apologize for the murders. And I mean, there was a whole to do. I'm not saying that's what happened with David's, but I have seen it all. And it starts with thanking the house, thanking the space, but commanding your space. This is one thing that Pat Longo, The Gifts Beneath Your Anxiety is her best-selling book. And she teaches psychics and mediums and people like yourself, Kellee, how to work with their toolbox. She's going to be my Spiritual Social Club guest in December. And she'll be at the All Souls
I was going to say she's going to be at the All Souls Conference, which Jen is hosting. I am going to be attending. I'm Jen's guest. And it's
you've spoken there the first weekend of November.
Yeah. It's really an amazing event, but I don't even know. Do you have room for anybody now?
I think we might have 2 seats left. So if you want to come again, that's at jenweigel.com as well in Fontana, Wisconsin, which is beautiful. The Abbey Resort.
Stunning at the Abbey. It's stunning.
It's so nice. But Pat talks about commanding your space. So David, if you're still with us, you have to command your space, and command. It's not just about sage. You have to get out. You have to get out the heavy artillery here, and call me. But it's like it involves a lot of heavy. And I hate to use this word prayer if it's not your thing, but it's basically commanding that you are now, I believe, the owner of the space, and it is your right to say anything that is not for my highest good must leave now and go back into earth for healing. You got to give, when you're clearing out negative space, you have to give it a destination, because otherwise it's like spraying a muddy car and all the mud just kind of goes everywhere. I always say, go back down to earth and have it be transmuted back into love, because it's only acting rageful and down and deep because it's not in the light. This also might be a case of that. Her spirit might still be there, David, and she might not be in the light. So I've actually had people in the social club, again, things I would never say in the news desk at CBS, things that would never come out of my mouth as a reporter at CBS. But, I got a guy. If you need some help, as we say in Chicago, I got a guy, but you have to literally get them out and put them into the light, because there's so many. And Prajna Avalon actually confirmed this in our last social club with her. She said in Brazil, where she grew up in this healing community, it was just known that 70 to 80% of the energies that they were all feeling were not of the third dimension. There are hitchhikers, there are stragglers, there are rogue energies that are basically not quite yet elevated, not quite yet gone. And so you basically have to walk around with an umbrella most of the time, especially now because the veil is getting so thin.
The veil is thin.
It's like I was riding a horse in the Mickelson Trail in South Dakota last year. Something pushed my horse and we both fell. it was an energy, that had, who knows from how many years back, right? But
Right.
it was,
Wow.
there was nobody there, Kelly, and something happened. So the veil is thinning. We got to get on high alert, but we can also command our space, because that
Mhm.
is your space and your sacred space, and it can become sacred, but you might have to get a few tools out.
That's very good. I like that. Very good. Oh, I like to get some tools out. Julie Musterman, independent journalists and long form interviews are where it's at.
Woohoo! That's
There
exactly
you
right.
go. I love that. Vive Kylie Long says, I feel like I'm an empath. I've had so much great loss. I lost a very special loved one. My best friend for 40 years broke up with me. I feel myself pulling away from everyone and just feeling so sad and lost. Is there any way to heal from this? I mean,
Mm.
this is really an extraordinary time that we have with this eclipse coming up, because this eclipse actually brings in healing. So here's the thing: you may need to see a therapist. You may need some help along the way, and that's another tool that we use here. There are great therapists out there. There's you can see a medium that might help. I do a lot of work with this kind of loss to help to see where you are and help move you on to where you need to be here.
Somatic healing, you always talk about, Kelly.
I always
Somatic.
talk about somatic healing, and somatic therapy is where trauma's been stuck in the body, and that's
Yep.
at traumahealing.org, traumahealing.org. You can find a wonderful person there. But yes. Okay, Linda Dirk, what is this social club? I'm in Central Illinois.
Woohoo! Okay, Linda,
Okay.
you're close. So just go to jenweigel.com and there's a tab, Spiritual Social Club. And basically, you don't have to join a club. I do have an annual membership for people. It's $35 a month, and we meet weekly to, we set intentions, we practice intuition, we do all sorts of things. But every week I have things it's open to the public. Anybody can join. There's no membership needed to sign up for one of these social clubs that I do with people like Kelly and other psychic, medium, intuitive authors, healers, you name it.
Oh,
And there's a different one every week. So just click on that tab of my website and you'll see, hopefully a list comes up, and coming soon to a screen near you. It'll give you the whole calendar.
you always have some amazing guests on there. And what I love to do the show, we do a lot of spirit guides. So we
Yes,
always
spirit
talk about
guides.
spirit guides, which is always
Mhm.
a lot of fun for people too. Okay, Donna Morin says, can spirit not whisper in someone's ear, as I call it, to suggest guidance if asked? Well, they can
Mm.
whisper in your ear.
Oh,
Can they
shit,
not do it? Or they can. Yeah. Oh, absolutely they can.
yeah,
So
they say it's like this. It's a still small voice, right? It's like your own
mhm.
voice. It's not James Earl Jones booming. It's actually it's very subtle, and that's why I think people doubt it, because it's so subtle. It
It
really is.
is. I
Mhm.
mean, every once in a while you will get a loud noise
Right.
that will tell you. You'll hear it every once in a while. That does happen.
Yeah, that just
But
happened to me recently.
did it?
Last week during when Pluto went direct, apparently on the 10th, I woke up at 4:37 in the morning and I was commanded to pray.
Really?
I was like,
Okay.
for what?
Wow.
I
Wow.
don't know.
Wow.
Okay. So it was a
And you
direct
heard
order.
it.
And I
Yeah.
heard it and I was like, okie doke. And I just started doing everything that I could think of. And so, and that's what I think. And the question I see, Barbara's question, why is the veil thinning? I don't know why it is. I've just been told it
Well,
is. And I can feel it is. Why is it,
yeah,
Kelly?
I'll tell you a couple of things. It always gets thinner by the time we get to All Souls Day, which is
Yeah.
November 1st, and Halloween. And that's why Halloween, we
Mhm.
wear the costumes and we do all kinds of things because we can see the other side. The veil gets thinner, but I think it's getting thinner and thinner and thinner because they're helping us more now. And I feel they're helping us more now because we need the help, because I think the world is
Yeah.
going through some times, and I think our loved ones are it's thinning out, so we can get some help here easier.
Right. Yeah. That totally makes sense. I believe that.
Trident vibes, this is really hitting me at a moment where this subject matter is exactly where I've made it to, and this was so perfect for me tonight. Great.
Sweet.
Good.
Thank you,
That
Trident.
is that's a good one. Okay, let's see. Here, let's see here. Constant Clancy. What is the best method to manifest a home I currently live in? My friend who owns it passed last month and it's going on the market. It's pricey.
Oh, so I'm
So,
guessing it's the home you want to live in, Constance, because
yes.
it was well, this is my latest prayer, and maybe this will help. I always say this or something better will be mine.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So you think you want something and you put all this energy into it. It's like, I want that. I want that. But really what you want is the feeling of what you think you would have if you had that. So imagine that feeling. So it's like a lot of people do this with relationships, right, Kellee? Oh, I
Yeah.
want that guy. I want that guy because when we dated, it was amazing. And I don't know where he went and why isn't he calling me anymore? You know, it says the single lady, but I'm just saying, like, that's a conversation that I hear all the time. And what you say is this or something better will be mine. So perhaps, Constance, if you set the intention that you want a home, thank you for, that's another thing I say. I don't say I want or I need because that puts out more lack.
Right.
Thank you for the home that makes me feel exactly like I feel at, and then put the address in. And as you ruminate on how you feel being in that house, thank you for making it happen. This or something better will be mine. And just keep, that's what I would suggest. What do you think, Kellee?
Oh, it's an excellent idea. I think I love that. I mean, I think that says everything because then it changes the vibration too. And so I
Exactly.
love that. Thank you for that. Okay, Claire O'Brien. This is such a great session. So much great information and super resources. Yay. Thanks, Claire. Okay, Carrie East Hypnosis. Hi, Carrie. Carrie was also with us in Alaska. Heartfelt thanks to you both for this amazing broadcast. I have 2 pages of notes and endless investigating to do. I have to tell you, Carrie, you need to join her spiritual club because her spiritual social club, you'll love it. And it's really interesting. She always has a lot of great guests. You would just absolutely love it.
I hope to see you
Okay.
there.
Anne Margaret. Hi, Anne Margaret, who was also on the cruise to Alaska with us. True, KW. I've been on Global Humanity Summit the last 3 days, all healers on the summit. And yes, we are being called to help. Why the veil is thin. We have to work on ourselves to help Earth. Absolutely. This is the time to work on ourselves. This is it. It's such an amazing time. And what happens too, the first week in November, Saturn goes direct. And when Saturn goes direct, it takes a very long time for that to turn and it stands still. And when it stands still, imagine it's like a kind of like a nightmare father that it's like real stern. That's what happens this first week in November. Very, very intense. So this is the time to really get in touch with what you need to release and look at your life, and so you can move forward.
It's true. If I had $1 for every email I get from somebody saying, I don't know what's happening, I don't know how to work with it. And I think that's why it's like we are being called to apply this. God, the universe wouldn't do this if they didn't think we could handle it. Now we need.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also will say when I've had enough, okay, God, I have to take a break. I have to take a break. Guys, I can't take any more right now. I've done that too. And it does slow it down.
It does.
And then I'll say, okay. And then we get ramped up again.
Right. Only what I can handle.
Mary Rustar Vodka. What can I do when I have these visitations? Just listen. Yeah. Just listen. When you have a visitation, pay attention, see what the feeling is on whatever it is. A lot of us, this is from Mystical Magic with Joni. A lot of us are being awoken at 3 a.m. Assign higher beings, angels connect with us. Yes, I've noticed that too, Joni. So I appreciate you saying that. It seems that a lot of us are getting, somehow we need some messages. Remember this, if you do get awakened at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, pay attention to what's going on. Did you have a dream? Remember the dream. We will get lots of messages during our dream time. And by the way, the dreams right now that people are having are off the chart. So pay attention. So you're getting all kinds of messages now.
Yep.
Okay, Joe Sunderledge. So grateful for both of you. I'm a former Illinois girl. I listened to WLS. My dad knew Paul Harvey. And of all my dreams are of family in and around Chicago. I'll be reading your books and watching for the social club.
Great, Joe. What a great note.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, Jen, we could just keep going on with you. You're just extraordinary. So how do people reach you? At jenweigel.com.
Absolutely. And just there's a contact, email me, a services tab. If you want to Zoom with me, get on the schedule and we can just have some fun together. That's all it's about. We've got to find our people. Thank you.
It's a great tribe to join, actually.
I appreciate it. I'm so
it
glad
really is. Me too. I'm thrilled. Couldn't be happier. So anyway, and James, if you're watching this, we love you and
love you,
see you in
James.
the weeks. So Jen, stay on just stay on. Don't forget. All right,
Okay.
everybody. Take care. I'll see you Thursday. I'm on Thursday with Ask Me Anything. I'll see you then.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kellee Show.